With the war in Iran and what it means for the global economy and petrol prices and the prices of all imported goods, it means massive inflation. Now, I'm not just saying this like everyone else is after the fact. I warned of this weeks ago. I forecast there would be this war, and I forecast it would last longer than people wanted it to, and I forecast it would have consequences for the rest of the world. Everyone likes, just sort of getting on with their lives, imagining that this will still be over soon. I still think it can go on for months rather than weeks. Also, I guess there's so much misinformation on both sides. So, for instance, the USS Abraham Lincoln, the carrier, is reportedly hit. I tend to believe that is true. Apparently it's withdrawn, and soon after that claim by the Iranians, the Gerald Ford, another aircraft carrier, was sent towards the Gulf. So I think, in a way, the US is losing this war because it's lost all its US bases in the Middle East for 2,000 kilometers. It's basically being pushed out of the Middle East at the moment. The Gulf states have decided that they're not going to go to war with Iran and they're not going to aggravate Iran. And they're not happy with the United States for starting this war, which they advised the United States not to start, and they're the ones paying the price. Why I'm saying all that is be careful. You have to research both sides of the news flows, and both sides are biased, which leads me to this forecast that I've just made, that the war goes on for longer than anyone would like, should never have happened in many ways, and that the impact on everyone around the world will be higher prices. Now, the US is pretty self-sufficient in fuel, but not totally, but it has Venezuela, but Venezuela isn't online. 400 million barrels were released as an emergency measure by the IEA, but their flow rate is only 2 million barrels a day. There's 18 to 20 million barrels a day missing from global supply. Many Asian nations are already doing energy reduction schemes and requirements for their populations. Japan has about 200 days of supply. I think China has even more. China reportedly has stopped all processed fuel exports, keeping it for themselves, which strategically makes sense for them. But it means that countries like Australia are going to be left short because some of our usual allocation from refineries in China, well, they're not coming anymore. Usual allocations from refineries in Singapore, some of that's going to be diverted to South Korea and other Asian nations. So Australia is going to feel the pain very quickly. Australia now has under 20 days reserves of fuels. Some country towns are already running out of diesel. A lot of this is due to people stocking up. And I must say, I think it's advisable to stock up, because what if this Strait of Hormuz is closed for 6 months? What does that do to the energy supply for countries around the world? Even those that can source or their usual sources are unthreatened, those prices are going to be much, much higher. Price rises we've seen already are only the tip of the iceberg. It gets much, much worse. Now, we have a lot of central banks having policy meetings this week, and they will be aware of a coming inflation tsunami again, similar to COVID. However, hopefully this time they've learnt their lesson and they won't be raising interest rates, but none of them will be cutting interest rates either. It's not advisable, it doesn't make good monetary policy sense to raise interest rates to fight inflation that is not caused by overheating economies. So because it's not caused by overheating economy, raising interest rates has no impact on this kind of inflation. It just adds to the pain that the population and businesses are experiencing. So let's hope that even the Reserve Bank of Australia, one of the worst in the world, least capable, most incompetent, has learnt that lesson as well. So I don't think interest rates should be going up anywhere around the world. I think they should be cut to help take the pain of these higher prices away, but most central bankers will probably not be able to stretch that far. All of that said, why would you want to be long industrials and other stocks in any country at the moment when a lot of economies are really going to be facing recession. A lot of investors are going to be feeling very uncertain about the future, and some of them have enormous profits on the board and will be thinking, why not lock some of that profit in instead of taking risk here? Now, some people will be thinking, oh, this is another buy the dip scenario. Well, it's not a buy the dip scenario if the war goes on for another 2 months, because by that time, and this is an important concept to grasp, if the US asked Israel not to go after Iranian oil reserves, but they did. And so Iran responded by going after Israeli oil refineries and tanks. So now the US is thinking of attacking Iran's oil facilities en masse, which means that the oil facilities of the Middle East could all be taken out of action. So even if the Strait of Hormuz was reopened, there's no production coming through because pipelines, refineries, ports have all been destroyed. So we are looking at being months away from normal oil supply returning to the world. So how do you want to adjust your portfolio in that environment? The US dollar could stay strong, and that's dampening the attempted rally by gold. It's dampening oil, but oil is staying strong anyway. Oil becomes the black gold, to be sure, of the world over the next couple of months. My point is this is not something, as the general population thinks, will be over in a few days and then the oil supply will catch up and there's nothing to worry about. That isn't the scenario. The scenario is that everyone is like the frog in the pot of water that's gradually heating and no one's jumping out. Everyone wants to believe what everyone wants to believe. This is a major war that affects the global economy. A global economic crisis is now unavoidable. Price that into your portfolio. At cliffordbennett.com.au, we make just as much money going in markets that are falling as in markets that are rising. We bought oil at 65, sold at 100, and then we bought it again at 89 and are still long. cliffordbennett.com.au. I can do all this for you for $10 a month, $11 a month. Please have a look, and I hope it helps. If you want to trade global markets, my preferred trading platform is propex24.com, propex24.com. I hope these services will help you, and please leave your comments and I will try to get to them, but obviously things are very busy at the moment, but I will do my best. And thanks very much for listening to this video. Have a wonderful day.